I get it, there's a ton of laptops out there that look perfect on a product page, sleek metal, bright photos, a list of high-end specs, and then you open the box and the thing feels sluggish, the screen's too dim for a coffee shop, the keyboard's a nightmare after an afternoon of coding. That gap between marketing hype and daily reality is why I'm doing this deep dive, to help you avoid spending a good chunk of money on a machine that sounds great on paper but doesn't fit your real workflow. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ThinkPad P14s Gen 6 is Lenovo's answer to the mobile workstation niche, the sort of laptop you'd expect a designer, engineer, or data scientist to take to a client meeting and then keep on a desk for heavy-duty work. It's marketed as a 14-inch, AMD-powered, Copilot PC that runs Windows 11 Pro. The headline specs: Ryzen AI 7 Pro 350, 32GB DDR5, a 1TB SSD, and a WUXGA anti-glare panel make it sound like a no-compromise solution. But the real question is how those pieces play together when you're actually trying to run a CAD model, edit a 4K video, or just hop on a Zoom call after a day of spreadsheets. First, let's talk about who this machine feels built for. If your day revolves around resource-intensive apps, SolidWorks, Adobe Premiere, MATLAB, or even multiple virtual machines, then you'll appreciate the 8-core Ryzen AI 7 Pro processor. In my testing, the CPU kept up with long render queues without the throttling you sometimes see on ultrabooks that try to squeeze power into a thin chassis. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM isn't just a marketing number, it actually lets you keep dozens of browser tabs, a full Photoshop file, and a couple of background analytics scripts open without the system swapping to disk. For a freelance engineer who needs to run simulations while also juggling emails and project management tools, that headroom translates into less waiting and more doing. The storage story is equally practical. A 1TB NVMe SSD loads Windows and your main apps in under 10 seconds, and the read/write speeds are fast enough that moving large 3D assets or raw video footage feels almost instantaneous. I've also found the SSD space to be generous enough to store several project folders locally, which is a relief if you're often on the road with spotty internet and can't rely on cloud sync for every file. Now, the display. The 14-inch WUXGA 19201200 anti-glare panel isn't a 4K screen, but that's intentional. The extra vertical pixels give you a bit more real estate for code editors or spreadsheet rows, and the anti-glare coating makes it usable in bright office lighting or a sunny CAF. Color accuracy out of the box is decent for a workstation, enough to trust the hues when you're reviewing a product render, though you'll still want to calibrate if you need print-ready color fidelity. The brightness peaks around 350 nits, which isn't HDR level, but it's plenty for indoor work and avoids the glare headaches you get with glossy panels. One of the less talked about aspects of this ThinkPad is the Copilot Plus integration. Windows 11 Pro now bundles a voice-activated assistant that can pull up files, launch apps, or even run simple scripts. In a real-world scenario, I was able to say open my latest PowerPoint while my hands were covered in solder, and the laptop responded without missing a beat. It's a small convenience, but when you're in a lab or a client site and can't touch the keyboard, it adds a layer of productivity that you wouldn't get on a plain Windows laptop. But no device is perfect, and the P14s has a few trade-offs that matter once you start using it daily. The first is weight. At about 3.4 pounds, it's lighter than many 15-inch workstations, yet still noticeable on a long commute. If you're a digital nomad who carries a bag for 8 hours a day, you'll feel that heft compared to a featherlight ultrabook. The chassis is sturdy, true to ThinkPad heritage, but the extra reinforcement adds to the mass. Thermal performance is another point to watch. The Ryzen chip is efficient, but under sustained heavy load, say, a multi-minute video export, the fans spin up noticeably. The laptop stays within safe temperature zones, but you'll hear a low hum that can be distracting in a quiet office. It's not a fatal flaw, just something to be aware of if you need a whisper-quiet environment for recordings or meetings. Battery life is realistic, not spectacular. Lenovo rates it at around 10 hours, but in my mixed-use test, email, light coding, and occasional video playback, it hovered around 7 hours before needing a top-up. If you're planning a full day of field work without access to power, you'll want to bring a charger or consider an external battery pack. That said, the rapid charge feature gets you back to 80% in roughly an hour, which mitigates the issue for most professionals. Now, who should walk away? If you're a student or casual user who mainly browses the web, streams videos, and uses Office apps, you're probably